Stay tuned, folks. We're broadcasting episode 3 of What Would Nikki Do? Featuring the lovely and insightful Nikki Martin.
Are you talking?
All right, folks. Welcome to episode 3 of What Would Nikki Do? John Cannon, Jai Beam, River Edge, New Jersey, njsound.com, jaibeam.com, broadcasting live around the world on YouTube Live. We couldn't get our Facebook Live stream working. For some reason, it's not authenticating. It says we're behind a firewall or something, and it's not working. So we're just broadcasting on YouTube Live. And let me get Nikki on the screen. All right, Nikki, you're on the screen. Say hi, Nikki.
Hi, everybody. How are you?
All right, so we have quite a few questions on Quora, which I didn't do the slides for. So I'm just going to read them one by one, starting with, I guess, I should go back to what date, Nikki?
29th.
July 29th.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to the first one. Asked by,
I always go to the one at the last.
At the bottom. That's what I'm doing right now. So Allison Tan requested this answer. Will a dumpy feel regret when they leave someone that really loves them?
Will a dumpy really regret if somebody leaves them? Well, I don't think so. I mean, there's no love to begin with. You can't, really tell what anybody else is feeling. That's a very interesting question. That was actually asked a while ago, I think, too. If the dumpy did not regret it, then there really wasn't a relationship to begin with. So you don't want to be with somebody that doesn't want to be with you.
Exactly. So we'll move on to the next question, which is asked by My Sakura. My Sakura says, why is it important for siblings to love or helping instead of fighting?
Okay, so these questions, did I answer already? Let me just explain something first before we go forward, because the people that don't know, I do have a brain injury, and things get a little confusing for me at times. So what I do is I have to read the question, and then I usually, while I'm answering it, I have to go back and reread the question a few times. So I take my time on answering these questions because they're very meaningful. And I know that, you didn't ask that question just out of the top of your head. It meant something to you. So it's just sometimes it takes me a little bit longer to respond. I also need to update you. My health has not been that good this week. I'm a little tired today, and I know you're going to look at me and you're going to say, oh, no, she's fine. There's nothing wrong with her. But listen, anybody can put makeup on and dress up and look good, but you don't know what's going on underneath. So it's been a rough week for me, so I apologize for this.
No need to apologize. You've had a rough week. I've had a rough week. It's been a rough week in general. I recognize some of these questions that we did in previous episodes, so I'm going to skip ahead to some other ones. This is asked by, or requested by, that you answer by Asif Raihan. What are some thoughtful and creative ideas for expressing love on special occasions?
You see my big smile I got. I was like, yay! I remember this one because it was so exciting to answer that. It really was. I love answering all of these questions, but some of them are just like, yeah, I could just keep going on and on and on. There's my answer, the part that I answered in there was to do like a treasure hunt. Okay, you leave a note, that person looks, and then that note leads you to another note. On the note, every note will have a surprise, and the other person has to go around to try to find the grand prize. And then at the end, you can have yourself set up a picnic with flowers, food, a present for them. You know, you can make it different. That was just like an example. The other example I said was to write a letter. Everything nowadays is texting and emailing or FaceTiming. There is no physical touch. There's no eye contact. We were talking about that last night. It's not like it used to be. So if you get a piece of paper and a pen and write her or him how you make me feel, tell the other person how good they make you feel, and put it in a nice envelope and surprise her or him. You know, there's so many different things that you can do. It comes from the heart. The other part of this is to listen to them. And when somebody explains the things that they like and the things they don't like, that's learning about them. You're going to learn what they like and what they like to do. And once you really should pay attention to the other person, but and be like, oh, wow, she likes the color purple, or, oh, he hates this, or he loves this. And just try to remember what they like. You don't want to give or do something for somebody that you want to do. You've got to do what they want or what they like. I rambled
Exactly. You have to find out what they want to do and what they like. And don't be so, it's not about you, it's about the other partner. So we're moving onwards and upwards. That was an excellent answer, Nikki. As always, very insightful, very creative. That's an excellent idea. I like the whole idea of that. It's very, I've never heard of that before. That's great advice. Very creative.
Thank you.
I like the picnic idea. That's a great idea. And this is requested by Hiarku. Hiarku asked you, why do people often say love only lasts 3 years?
I've never heard that before. I've heard the 7-year itch. And that comes to do with, well, it could be relationships, but marriage. They say if you made it past 7 years being with somebody, that means that you're good. You're good for a long time. Okay, scientifically, our bodies go through changes every 7 years. Okay, so that's why they call it that. If you can make it through 7 years of ups and downs with that person, you're going to make it with them. You've learned basically everything you need to learn about them, and vice versa. 3 years, I really haven't heard, but it could be a new thing. I'm not on social media all that much, except for here. So, have you heard?
I can speak about my relationship with my wife. I've been with her 25 years, and we were dating and together. I wooed her for 8 whole years, and then we decided to get married after 8 years of living together and being with each other. So it was 8 years of wooing, doing a lot of fun romantic things, And then after that, we got bored with doing the same old things. And I proposed to her, and she said yes. And then we had a few years of even more fun. And then we had our first child after 3 years. So it was 11 years of a relationship before we had any children. And I've been with her 25 years, and it's a rich relationship. It's not about sex or passion anymore. It's more of a understanding that's mutual, and it's a very good thing. But yeah, relationships, 3 years, you're probably in your 20s. That's my guess. And I remember in my 20s, yeah, 3 years was a long time when you're in your 20s with someone. And then after 3 years, it's like, okay, I'm 23 now. I'm 20 to 23. And then you go, okay, let me have another relationship. 3 years, that's 26, and then 29 and 32. And then as you get older, it's harder to commit to something. And so that's tricky. That's just my 2 cents. I'm chiming in. I
I
always
like
seem
your
to do that.
feedback.
But this is this is asked by, and you answered this I think 2 hours ago, or no, I don't know when the hell this was. It's from Salsabil Salah. I have already fallen in love with somebody which I can't be with. He is taken. When I remember that hurting fact, I wish I didn't love him, but why don't I wish to be with him?
Um, I give you a lot of kudos and a lot of credit. You did the right thing. Don't, don't ever question why you did something. Well, the way I see it and the way I say it is you never should on yourself. Never tell yourself that you should have done something. So I say you never should on yourself because you can't go backwards. You can't change what was done. Um, you should be very proud and feel good about yourself because you did the right thing. If that person's with somebody else, and and first of all, then you aren't supposed to be around them. I mean, you don't want a relationship when somebody's in a relationship with somebody. So you did the right thing. I just suggest not questioning why. You're probably saying to yourself that you should be more upset about it, sad, maybe grieving, but because you know deep down inside you did the right thing. That's why you're okay with it. Don't question
Exactly.
yourself.
That's a great point, Nikki. I appreciate your insights. That's very insightful. It's tough, People, are in relationships, and you may have feelings for them, and it's a challenging situation. It's never easy, but there's many of millions of people out there in the world. Just do what you love what you do, and you'll find someone that has similar interests or experiences, and maybe you'll start a relationship. You never know. You never know when something's going to happen. So we're going to move onwards and upwards again. And this is a moving away from love. It's discussing a topic that I think we should touch on. Elizabeth Miller asked this: why can some people with PTSD only be emotionally present around nurturing adults, but not their own children, who are the only ones who love them unconditionally?
That was such a deep question for me. I mean, and I know that John and most of us can relate to that. I'm going to say one thing when it comes to the children. As a parent, you want to protect your child from any type of harm. You want to guard them from anything that's negative. You don't want to see any pain in your child's eyes. And to know, or this is what you're thinking in your head, is that, well, my PTSD is affecting my children. I They're going to look at me and they're going to be sad. I don't want my children to be sad. I don't want them to hurt. But as I was answering this question, it just hit home, because that's really Well, first, okay, get off that subject. I'm not a professional. I don't have any degrees behind my name. We're doing this for entertainment purposes only.
Thanks for
And
reminding me. I didn't mention that in the beginning. I should have mentioned that in the beginning.
I got it. So I do it for not even for fun. I do it because I love to help people. And I love to see how people's minds work. But PTSD is a very hard thing to understand yourself, so you want to guard your children away from that because it's so traumatic for you. And being with other adults that have either been through similar things, or understand PTSD more, you're more comfortable. You feel a safetiness there, and you don't have to worry about saying something wrong because they experienced the PTSD too.
I think we should clarify because there may be some people out there that don't know what PTSD means. There may be some people that have no idea what that acronym means. It's post-traumatic stress disorder, and it's a diagnosis when you have a trauma in your life that's so devastating that you have triggers and you have anxiety, you have stress, you get really emotionally unbalanced when certain things happen, and it's a PTSD response. And that's I have PTSD. I've had many traumas in my life. I can't speak for Nikki, but we've had many traumas. I've had many traumas, and this is our last question. So we're going to be. It's only 3:18, so I think we're going to sway away from the questions because I see this one. Can love be so strong that nothing can break it? We asked that episode 2. That was talked about, and some of these have been answered in episodes 1 and 2. I hope you tune into those. If this is the first time tuning into episode 3, please be sure to watch episodes 1 and 2. And again, this is for entertainment purposes only. I didn't mention that in the beginning. I should have said that. I forgot this episode. I did it on the previous 2 episodes, but this is for entertainment purposes only. And it's not professional advice. It's just from Nikki's lifelong experience and her very insightful, thoughtful comments and ideas, but it's not professional help. And I'm not a professional therapist. I'm just a creative individual that loves to do creative things like this, putting on this episode. And so we're going to be discussing, I think you said you wanted to discuss a few things besides love. We've been talking about love the past 2 episodes, and we're talking about it a little bit now. I think you wanted to talk about narcissistic people and relationships with narcissistic people. Not that it's love, it's just try to understand. I know I've been researching toxic personalities, which is I could speak broadly on that. I've been reading up on that for many, many months. But Nikki, why don't you talk about narcissistic personality disorders? What happens in relationships or when you're around people that have a narcissistic personality disorder?
Well, I really can't, I don't have enough time to go through that. But,
well, just touch on the major points.
Yeah, the major points is that, the other person has a grandiose type of feeling, like they're better than you are, or they're better than anybody else. They feel like they're privileged, and they should be getting, and they should be treated a certain way. And if you don't do what they want to do, they will either pretend like you never said anything, or they call that like gaslighting, I don't know exactly these new terms for all
Yeah,
that.
gaslighting. We could talk about that today if you want. That's an I've researched that very extensively too. That's a very form of a psychological, emotional manipulation. That's I've researched that and been experiencing that for quite a long time now, and I can speak on it very openly about this. It's a very painful situation when that happens. It's a very simple thing to recognize, but keep this going. This is going great. I think you're doing great.
But narcissism is very hard on the other person because I was I know somebody that is a narcissist, and in the past, it was they made me feel like everything was my fault, and it's like I could never do anything right, um, and and then they would like talk to me for a couple days, and then they would disappear for days, and then act like nothing happened. Or then they'll turn around and say, "Oh, well, I didn't say that. I don't know what you're talking about." So, being in a being in a relationship with a narcissist is basically a one-sided relationship. It's all about the other person. They really don't care what happens to you. They don't care. There's no empathy or compassion from a narcissist. And you are going to keep looking for validation. You're going to look for a pat on the back. That's good, but you're not going to get that from this person. And John, I know you want to say something so bad.
Yeah, I do. I've been. I mentioned that I was with my wife for 25 years. I can't say it's been the most pleasant 25 years. I wouldn't recommend this sort of situation to anyone because the communication has been atrocious. We haven't communicated in an adult mature way. But I think my wife, I'm convinced she has a toxic personality and she's a narcissist because I get blamed for everything, every single thing. I'm to blame. She's never to blame. I can never please her. If I do something, it's never good enough. So there's no empathy. She has no empathy or sympathy or compassion. She's very cold and very gaslighting all the time. I never said that. Oh, that's not true. And then I have things that are recorded, and so it's a challenging situation. But I still I have two lovely, wonderful boys, and I'm there to give them nurturing and love. I'm trying to stay calm. And a lot of people that have toxic personalities, they have very bad tempers. They have extremely bad tempers, and they'll lash out when they don't get what they want. They're very manipulative, very coy, cunning, and very elusive. That's even so. I've read on. I'm not a trained professional. I just read a lot. Sociopaths, it's on the spectrum. It's the same thing. You have toxic personalities, sociopaths, narcissists. They're all on the same spectrum, different levels. But sociopaths have no empathy. They can't put themselves in another person's shoes. They can't. They can never fathom how that person could be feeling about a certain situation or anything because they don't have it in them. It's an emptiness. And then there's psychotics, which are even another spectrum. It's on the spectrum. They're violent and they get really out there. So yeah, there's a whole spectrum that you can research of personality disorders that I've been researching for many months, if not years, because I've tried to understand why I'm being treated this way. And it's once you understand it, you can try to not accept it, but you can at least understand it in your own mind so it doesn't impact you as hurtfully or deeply. And that's what I've experienced in my own life. And PTSD, to get back to that, post-traumatic stress disorder, I don't believe that question. I think if you have PTSD, you can still love children and nurture them and protect them. It's when you get triggered with your past traumas that you have to just step away and regroup yourself and then, continue the parenting role. But if you're continually being triggered, that's not healthy for anyone. and you have to find out what could be done to rectify that or solve that situation. It's very challenging, but everyone
Yes.
has traumas. Some people have more uh, deep traumas than others, and it's just a very hard thing to live with. You get a lot of anxiety, you get depressed, you get lonely, you get emotional, you may get addicted to drugs or alcohol. You may find comfort, you may want to numb your pain. And that's what, it's a downward spiral once you don't address the root causes of why you're being triggered and why you're going through such a bad time. And that's just my personal experience. I've been in therapy since I'm 18 years old. I'm 56. So I've been speaking with psychologists and psychiatrists since I was 18. And I think I'm cured. I'm openly bipolar. I've had bipolar diagnosis since I was 18, and I've been on psychotropic medication since I was 18, which I had horrible experiences with that early on in my life. I guess I had a manic episode when I was 18. Well, I had a traumatic episode. I think it was more PTSD than mania, but it was a combination of a major trauma in my life, and then I had a mania, and they just put me on medication, and I became a zombie. I would not recommend that for anyone. I
Yeah.
wouldn't. That was the worst thing I could have done in my 20s. I gained a lot of weight. I was unhealthy, and I was drinking like super big gulps every day, smoking
So
cigarettes a lot. I still smoke cigarettes, but I was just very unhealthy and just very
that's
dark.
the that's PTSD is what John's experiencing. You know, it's something that happened in the past, and it could be a smell or it could be something somebody says, and it'll bring him back to that time period in his life. Even though
Yeah,
it was 30 years ago, it's
over
still,
30 years ago, 30,
well, you're old.
38 years ago, almost 40 years ago. Wow. Wow, that's a
But
long time. But yeah,
I want
the wounds are so deep and scars are so painful. I'm over it, but I can talk about it. But I still have triggers that bring me instantly back to those bad
mhm,
experiences, and it's just a very natural thing that I try to deal with. But it's if I get triggered, I get very self-destructive. I turn it inwards. I don't turn it outwards. I always turn it inwards. I always hurt myself more, which is a
mhm.
very bad thing to do. I don't hurt others. I hurt myself. I smoke more cigarettes. I may drink more alcohol,
But
and
you don't realize, John, that you are also affecting the people around you. Even
yeah.
too, even though we think that when we're doing something and we think we're only hurting ourselves, that actually is kind of a selfish feeling. What about the people around you? Don't we think that they're seeing what we're going through? Um,
Well, that's a
it,
dynamic that I'd like to have a debate with you on that, because if the person who's triggering you to do
yes,
those bad things is
yeah,
then not being a mature adult and realizing those triggers are very bad,
mhm.
and that's malicious, and that's a
I
toxic personality,
yes,
and I guess someone with PTSD and a toxic personality, someone who likes to gaslight and do all these psychological games.
mhm.
It's not a healthy relationship. It's not a good situation. And as I'm
Communication.
aware of it, and I'm aware that my drinking is not viewed upon positively. I don't. All I do is go to sleep. I slur my words maybe a little more. I haven't had a drink all day today. I don't drink every day, but I drink a lot. Not a lot of alcohol, but I drink frequently just as a relaxation. It's a very relaxing thing for me. I do try to meditate, but yeah, it's not good. I don't
I want
recommend it to anyone, but you
I
can,
wanted
a
I
habit
wanted
is a habit is a habit, and there are good habits and there are bad habits.
you can always turn the bad habit into a good one, you know that.
Well, it takes a lot of time, and you can. I started going to physical therapy, then I stopped exercising just the past week, and my back is hurting me again. I may have to go back to physical therapy to have someone that motivates me to stay in shape. So yeah, it's life is really a challenging situation. It's not easy. You have to be self motivated. You have to motivate yourself to do the right thing and have good habits, like Nikki said, not bad habits, but bad habits, if you've had them for so long, like smoking cigarettes, it's one of the hardest things. I've quit so many times, probably like 15 times in my life, for anywhere from 2 weeks to a month or a few months or half a year. A year and a half is the most I quit for in my 30s. But my medical doctor said the connections in my brain for nicotine are so strong, and it's a psychological habit. It's an oral fixation that
It's a
it's very
horrible
difficult to quit.
addiction, okay?
Huh?
It's a horrible addiction.
It's a horrible addiction. I don't recommend
Horrible
anyone
addiction.
start smoking it. In the 1980s, it was very common. They had smoking bathrooms in my high school. I didn't smoke. I smoked my senior year. I didn't buy my first pack of cigarettes until I was in college. So I didn't smoke in high school. I smoked socially. I had a puff here and there. But my mother was a smoker. I remember stealing a cigarette from her when I was like 10 years old or 11 years old and got all sick. And then me and my friend Lonnie went to buy Tiparillo cigars, and we were inhaling them, and I was turned white as a ghost when I was 13, I think I was. So you do stupid things when you're young. And sometimes those stupid things wind up to be stupid habits and stupid addictions. But nicotine is one of the most difficult things to rid yourself from. I have to get back on the nicotine lozenges and the gum. That's how I quit many times, is the gum and the lozenges, which work very well because you're still getting the nicotine, but you're not getting the harmful effects of the smoke. I tried vaping. I didn't like vaping at all. And I don't like.
All right. Well,
Yeah, I'm rambling on.
I'm going to change the subject. It's okay. We both do. If you haven't noticed, but I want to touch on the narcissist again because it just means a lot for me to say this. Believe it or not, and I don't know if anybody's going to agree with me, but everybody has a slight bit of narcissism in them. It's not a narcissistic personality disorder, but everybody has traits of being a narcissist. And so I don't want to like throw that out to people, right, John?
I don't
Would
know
you
if
agree?
it's, I don't think, I disagree with you. Let's have a debate. I think everyone has an ego, which is not narcissism. Everyone has an ego that they defend. That's who you are. My ego is, I'm a human being. I'm John Cannon. That's my ego speaking. I want to protect my ego. I want to protect my persona. It's not narcissistic necessarily, but it's my ego I'm protecting. So it's not narcissism is when you have no regard for anyone else. Ego, when you have a big ego, too, egomaniacs, it's similar to narcissism. Egomaniacs are just as bad as narcissists because they think their shit doesn't stink. Pardon my language. I know this is a child-friendly show, but
But
egomaniacs and narcissists are similar, but your ego is what people try to protect, and then you have your superego and your ego, and then the id. The superego is actually what. Those are the three things. I'm not an expert on this. My friend James Golnick is an expert on this. But you have your id, which is the unconscious, the subconscious, the ego, and the superego. The superego is what you. That's the one that's the above all. That's your ego, and that's how you can become narcissistic and all these things that are bad. So yeah, I don't know if narcissism is in everyone because, but superego and ego, and that's you could relate that to narcissism a little bit because you're thinking of yourself first and protecting yourself, getting food, getting
so
pleasure, getting
yeah.
things, and that's your ego. You're trying to feed your ego and your superego, and that could be viewed as narcissistic, hedonistic. there's a whole, but that's all to do with the superego and the ego, and the id is the dream world, and the subconscious that keeps you who you are. And that's, I don't know if it's narcissism. I wouldn't use the term narcissistic, and
See, that's why
everyone's
it's
narcissistic.
it's a tendency to be like. It's not. You're not putting a label. I hate labels.
Labels are for small-minded people.
I just hate labels. It's like, okay, I have many illnesses. I refuse to say what they are, because I don't want to carry that label as, okay, I'm addicted to smoking. All right. So, I struggle with smoke. I want to quit smoking so bad. But if I label myself, then I'm going to walk around like that's me and that's who I am. So I think if we can that's why I said narcissism is in everybody, because we all have a tendency to do narcissistic things. It's not that we are. So even though somebody is a full-fledged narcissist, there's so many levels of being a narcissist. There really is. And again, we don't have degrees.
We're
or
not
anything
professionals.
Like
this is just our opinions. It's for entertainment purposes only. We don't know the real truth because we're not trained professionals, and we're just hypothesizing as to what we believe is the truth as we understand it. And of course, you know that your truth can change over time as you learn new facts and new things and new experiences. You should change your mind as things change. Don't stay stubborn, and adapt. And that's why our species has been here 250,000 years. Our Homo sapiens sapiens have been on this planet for 250,000 years, and we didn't have 8 billion or whatever we have now back then, way back 250,000 years ago, but we survived nature, and we are here because those early ancestors 250,000 years ago survived and built up civilizations, and only the written word has only been 9,000 years or 13,000 years. Don't get me on the numbers, but the first written word, I think, was 9,000 years ago or 13,000 years ago. I don't know the exact date. I'm not a scholar. I don't claim to be a scholar, but I read this on Wikipedia and I do all that stuff to make an understanding of things. I did genomic research on myself, just to find out where I came from in the world over 250,000 years. And we're evolved for millions of years as the tree of life. So
we want to stay away from religion, politics.
Well, it's not religion or politics.
Well,
this is humanity. This is humanity. This is not religion. I'm not saying religion.
No, but because, the first thing, honestly, that popped in my head when you said the first word was written on, so, and it's like, it brought me back to my spirituality. And it's like, we're touching on touchy subject.
No, we shouldn't. It wasn't, it was, but if you think about it, the Egyptian pyramids and the Mayan alphabet, the Mayan writings, and the how they have the symbols, and the cavemen, how they did stories in the caves on how to survive and fight animals with different weapons. Those are all things that we evolved, and we're here today because we survived, and that's protecting your superego and your ego. That's what I'm saying. It's not narcissistic. It's more a survival thing. I don't think it's narcissism. Narcissism, I don't think, is in everyone. I think everyone has a superego and an ego and an id. That's your personality, and then it can develop into these very, very strong things that are not very healthy, and that's part of nature and nurture. You get into those conversations. Is it nature? Is it nurture? Did you grow to be sociopathic, or were you born to be a sociopath, or were you born to be bipolar? I think bipolar is a genetic disorder. You're born bipolar. You don't learn bipolar. You just have that condition, which I think is a very good condition to have, because 37% of Pulitzer Prize writers and authors and storytellers are bipolar. Most of the
Yeah.
musicians you see on the TV and the radio are bipolar. Most of the
Wasn't
greatest
Einstein
artists.
like that?
I don't know.
Einstein.
There are many people are bipolar.
No, but
It's they. I've never done cocaine, but I heard it's like being on cocaine when you're manic. I've never done cocaine ever. I took one little piece like that much when I was in high school, a little
I
sniff.
wouldn't want to see that.
Huh?
Mm-mm. I wouldn't want to see you on that. No,
No,
thank
I've never had no interest in that. I have no interest in that.
you.
So
Good.
I tried marijuana a little bit. I don't like marijuana that much, but red wine, I love red wine. Red wine is my favorite. That's my lifelong favorite, red wine, and it's good for you. That's what I was my favorite drink for decades, and now it's rum and coke because it's summertime. But that's getting into the alcohol problem. But I think life is to be lived. It's not to be questioned or you
Yes.
have to
Thank you
question
for
life, but you
those
have to
words.
question, you know, why am I, why are things this way and how can I change or adapt to make them better? And that's what we should all be doing all the time.
Well, that's why we're doing this. That's why we're doing this show, and to sit here and when John and I go back and forth, it's
We have great
just
conversations. We
it is, and I mean, I have to say, we do bicker like little old women sometimes. Not
well,
bicker,
old
but
women and old men. If you call me an old hag, I'm gonna stand
go
up
ahead
against
and
that.
correct me.
Here we get our true colors out. I'm not an old hag. I'm an old man. I'm a Scrooge. I'm a Scrooge. I tell you, I'm a Scrooge. I'm a
You're not.
Scrooge.
Listen, this is just fun, okay? It really is. And if somebody can take anything away from what we're talking about, maybe it'll spark something into somebody's brain and be like, oh my God, yeah, that's it. Let me do this or think this or whatever. And, then I'm happy. Then this was all worth it. To listen to John. He'll plant something in your mind that, wow, I never saw it that way.
Yeah, I need to step away for 2 minutes. So entertain the audience for 2 minutes, and you could show your pink monster behind you and have a little dialogue with the pink monster if you still have him there, and act like that's me for 2 minutes.
Okay, so obviously he's leaving me alone to okay, I'm not that off. But I wanted to talk about it's different personalities in people. Everybody is different. And if you're in a relationship and you get upset because the other person isn't responding the way you want them to, you have to talk to them. You have to tell them that this is how you feel. Communication is the key to any friendship, any business relationship, any kind of relationship. You've got to be able to talk to the other person, because I don't know what you're thinking, and you don't know what I'm thinking. We can only assume. And most of the time when we assume things, we're wrong. Most of the time, not all the time. So, I am in a situation now where in my head, I am assuming that this is a certain way. And actually, it's not. It's because of the things that have happened in the past that I brought forward. So it makes me assume that this is the way the situation is. But if you don't have facts, you don't communicate, you're never gonna know the truth. So don't ever assume that you know what somebody's thinking. Don't assume that the situation, it is the way it is. You've got to communicate with each other. You got to talk.
That's right. And I talked that nature was calling. That little pink monster was saying, "Go to the bathroom, John. You drank too much water today." And I apologize for that, people. That was a sudden urge of nature calling. And the little pink monster in me said, I better run to the bathroom. and that's what I
I
did. So I apologize for that interruption or whatever it was, but I'm sure Nikki was saying something amazing. You can't read other people's thoughts, even though there are people that think there are mind readers. You can be hypnotized. People know how to hypnotize other people. And
mhm.
that's part of psychotherapy and psychiatry and hypnosis. And they say you can quit smoking through hypnosis too. I've never tried that. You can also try quitting smoking through acupuncture. But
I was talking more about it's communication.
yeah,
Um,
communication is key. If you don't
that's the
communicate, you'll never know what the other person's thinking. And if
every
it's all
relationship,
negative,
right? But even in business, you got to communicate in business. You got to
of
communicate
course.
with, when you're in school, you got to communicate with the teachers.
Yep.
You can't assume somebody knows what you're thinking, because you'll hear somebody like, well, I thought that's what you wanted, or I thought that's what you were doing. You don't know what's going on. Even though you're living in the same house with somebody, you can't assume anything.
It's
They
exactly right. And if there's
and
no
you
communication, then it's hard to figure out what's going on. And if you have people with certain biases or certain tendencies, it could deteriorate into a very unhealthy, toxic environment. And
yeah,
that's unhealthy for everyone.
yeah, communication is really the key, because it because then you start, I know that when I'm left with my brain by myself, I am my worst enemy. Because I oh my god, you don't want to be in my head. I don't even want to be in my head
Yeah,
sometimes.
sometimes you don't want to be in your head. You have self-defeating thoughts. You have just very negative feedback cycles that you can fall prey to. And I've been through all. You can have rapid thoughts. You can have rapid firing thoughts, rapid talk. There's a whole bunch of things. But the number one thing you should be doing every day, if you can, is sleep 8 hours. Get enough
Oh,
sleep. Get enough sleep. That's number one. If you don't get enough sleep, your whole body gets out of balance, and then it's in a fight or flight situation, and you're really in a stress situation. Your body's saying, hey, I need to relax. I need to go to sleep. But if you haven't been sleeping for years or weeks or months or days or whatever it is, you're going to have
right.
your cortisol levels are going to go higher. You're going to get a lot of bad things going on.
You start assuming things, and then you start, when you don't sleep, it's right now, there's that's kind of, that hit close to home, because I know somebody that's having problems sleeping right now, and it's like absolutely taking over his every thought. And it's like, well, I can't sleep, and I'm like, okay, well, you need to get out and make yourself tired. Do some exercises, do things so you can make yourself sleep. Because sleep is
Yep.
important.
Sleep is very important. That's what I was in my when I was 18, 17, I guess 16, 17, 18. It was back in 1980, 2, 3, 4, 5. There was a whole movement of people that did sleep deprivation. It's like almost and I was very mystical. I'm still very mystical and artistic and creative. So I went through periods where I would do sleep deprivation just to see what it felt like. And it's amazing what you experience as a young child or a young person or even an older person. Older people just get cranky, but it can, if you do it the right way and do it in a very methodical way, sleep deprivation, if done consciously, can make you you could start hallucinating, and your body's saying, holy shit, if you don't sleep for 3 days, you're going to start
Mhm.
hallucinating, and your body's just going to be on a constant battle. And I experimented with that when I was younger. I wouldn't recommend it if you're not ready for it. It can lead to very detrimental things. But there was a whole movement of artists and musicians, and they would talk about it, sleep deprivation. I wore all black, and I was like gothic, and I was like morbid. And it was just a whole cult of like people that got into that sort of stuff. I would stay up late reading philosophy books. reading poetry, short stories. Everyone else would be asleep. I'd be up 3, 4, or 5 in the morning reading, all by
Yeah,
myself.
nowadays you've got the internet. So again, we just had this conversation with some younger people, and it's like you've got the internet now. It totally ruins your brain,
Oh,
because
it makes your brain mush.
it does, because then you start believing everything that you're reading.
Yeah,
And
you don't say no, you don't disagree, you just accept it as truth, and it's not truth. It's just repeated a million times to make it seem true. And that's a whole part of that's gaslighting in a sense. That's gaslighting. That's
Mhm.
brainwashing. We had a great party yesterday, and I'm having another one tonight. Just to let you know, we had a great party of artists, actresses, musicians. We actually created a song. Two of the musicians were just met each other the first time, and they tried to create a song together on the spot, and it came out pretty well. I have videotapes of it, and just being creative and open and honest and loving. It was a great loving vibe. We had such a loving vibe. Everyone was having a great time. Didn't you have a great time, Nikki?
I had a really, really great time, and that's what those are the people I was talking about. We were talking about, the internet now and then, and these are such great kids, but they
Yep.
have no idea what it was like for us,
And they were
and
talking about how everything's cancel culture and the Me Too generation and all this transgender. And so we got the 20-year-olds, 24-year-olds, 24, 23, 22, right? They were 24, 23, 22, or 23, 22, 21. I forget. It was like 24, 20. They were in their 20s, early 20s. And it's good to get different perspectives. We shared our perspectives. There was someone who was 70 years old at the party, shared her perspectives, which were amazing. She has quite a rich life story. Everyone's got a life story to tell. And if you can communicate that and share your experiences openly and honestly, not covering up the bad things and just being open about them and talk about them, then that's beautiful communication.
because you went through what you went through for a reason, and don't go that you should have done that differently, or maybe if I wasn't here then it wouldn't happen. First,
Yeah, don't should yourself. That's the
don't
lesson that
should,
Nikki wants to teach you. Don't should yourself,
don't
which
should
is
on
shat
yourself.
yourself. Shat, should, shat. Don't shat yourself. Don't should yourself. That's what the whole don't shit yourself. Don't shat yourself. Don't should
I like
yourself.
good.
And that's how you can remember it. That's a great statement, and you should never do that. Woulda, coulda, shoulda. No, I used to
Don't,
do that in my 20s and teens. Woulda, coulda, shoulda. Woulda, coulda, shoulda. No, that doesn't get you anything in life.
no, you have to. The
And
first
people
thing
people just go, oh,
is,
woulda, coulda, shoulda.
why? What does it
So
accomplish?
sad, too bad, too bad, so sad. That's another statement. It is what it is. Accept it. Move on. Get on to the next chapter. Get
Don't
on to the next
believe.
page. Get on to the next sentence in your life. Anyway, this is getting good. This is getting really good. We have 6 minutes to go. It's now
Right?
3:54
No, it
Eastern Standard Time. Sunday, August 13th, 2023, episode 3 of What Would Nikki Do? I just want to say this, Nikki, before we go any further. On the YouTube Live, there's a thanks with a dollar sign. You can show Nikki your support and caring for her by using that dollar sign, thanks, and it will go directly to Nikki and support this whole broadcast. You can also
thank you.
on Quora ask a paid question just for Nikki. You could pay, request, or donate $3.99, and you can donate on YouTube Live or the YouTube channel NJ Sound, which is my channel, but I give the proceeds to Nikki directly, anywhere from $1 to $500. They do take out commissions, so you don't get the full dollar or whatever, but you have a slide that you can slide it from $1 all the way up to $500. So donating anything to show your support of Nikki and support this broadcast would be greatly appreciated. And please share the broadcast with all your friends and family and loved ones. And hopefully this is good entertainment. It's not from professionals. We're speaking just from life experience. And that's what you have to realize is that we're just sharing our life experience, which has been very rich for both of us. And we have great conversations when we're together. Sometimes we come up with very creative ideas, like toast. The toast, is it burnt or
I don't
nicely buttered?
remember.
That was an experience that I'll never forget in my lifetime. I'll be 80 years old. I was at Nicky Martin's house and I almost choked on toast.
No,
I
because
was
I
there. I almost
poisoned
choked
you,
on
you're going to
toast. I
say.
poisoned
No, I
myself with DEET.
poisoned
I
you.
sprayed DEET on me with a fan blowing in front of me, and I was like, damn, that DEET's going in my mouth, and I threw up 10 times. Oh, my God. It was nasty. It was a nasty experience, and I'm throwing up, and Nikki's staying calm, and she stayed calm, so she didn't have me flip out. I'm flipping out, and I'm like, oh, my gosh, I'm throwing up 10 times.
No, but then he's
That's my
getting mad
acting.
at
That's my
me
voice.
because
I like
I'm not
doing
getting
voices.
freaked out.
I
He's
used to
like,
do the Three
I'm like,
Stooges. I used to do a lot of voices. I used to do impersonations. I love impersonators that impersonate voices. I used to do that in my teens and I guess when I was 12 years, even maybe before teens. I used to watch the black and white Abbott and Costello Three Stooges. I would do curly, "Hey Mo, how's it going?" And I would do no, 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 no. And that's what we did as kids. We didn't have the internet. We watched great TV shows that were classics, and
yes.
they had us form our personalities. I remember I do the Three Stooges. Everyone would do the Three Stooges and the Abbott and Costello and the Little Rascals, and that was Saturday and Sunday entertainment. You sit and your parents would let you watch those few hours of TV in the beginning of Saturday and Sunday morning, because you couldn't watch TV whenever you wanted to, because there was only one TV in the house, most likely, because the TVs
Seven,
were very expensive. And
seven
like seven
channels,
channels, yeah, 7 channels.
not thousands of channels,
Yeah, not
you
thousands
know?
of channels. And this is what I talked about yesterday at the party. They've been doing this methodically for years and decades and decades and decades. There used to be a universal. I still believe love is universal, but they're trying to make America and the world a mosaic of very small fragments, so nothing can really form into any cohesive movement. But then you have the terrorists; they form into their movements and all this other stuff. But they're trying to make the rest of us a mosaic of all sorts of different varied interests, which is very good, but there's no unifying. There should be unifying things about against, standing up for freedom, liberty, life, and the First Amendment. But though they're trying to even chip away at those things, so it becomes a very lonely world, because you're like compartmentalized. You're put into a little pixel. You're not a part of a larger group. But we're all human beings. We're all human, and we should all be the same. We should. That's what's decayed over the past decades. It's 2023 now, and people are looking at people differently. When we were growing up, you could go over any friend's house and just show up and go, "Hey, how's it going? Let's hang out." It was an open door policy. Now you have to make appointments. You have to, if you show up, what do you want? What do you need? Get out of here. So it is becoming antisocial, this mosaic. And it's pitting all these different groups against each other, and hopefully nothing will flare up too hugely. But it's a very disgusting. Nikki and I grew up at the best time. We're Generation Xers, which Gen Xers, I think, have the best life experience of any generation. Baby boomers probably had great life experience in the 30s, 40s, and 50s and 60s. But we're Gen Xers. We've had it tough since day one, but we've turned it around and made it a positive. Anyway, it's 20 seconds to go. Do you have any parting statements, Nikki?
No, I always have something to say, but actually not much today, because I'm just, feeling a little off. But really, it probably has nothing to do with anything except communication. I really believe that don't assume anything. Talk. And if you can't talk to the person, write it down on a piece of paper and hand it to them. You got to be able to communicate.
Yep, communication is the key. Without communication, bad things happen. And I can attest to that. So thanks for tuning in to episode 3 of What Would Nikki Do? And you're our lovely hostess, or I'm the host. I'm the lovely host, and the honored advice giver. Well, we're both giving advice, but she's the main focus of the show. I think it's a good show. Leave a comment what you think of the show. If you have a question, you can leave it on Quora. You can share the stream and just comment and see if you like this. Give it a thumbs up. Give it a thumbs up. Share, subscribe to the channel, and show your support.
And leave a comment.
Yeah,
Help us
thank you
lift-
for coming. And
Our-
don't forget to visit Nikki's newly formed Linktree. Let me see if I can get that going. No, I don't have that going.
Any suggestions you have, please, we'll take them.
Yeah, we're open to all suggestions. If you have other questions, ask them on Quora. If you want to have different formats, if you like what we talked about with PTSD and narcissistic personalities and toxic personalities and gaslighting, we can talk about those things from a layperson. We're not educated scientists or therapists. We're just sharing our own life experience. I've dealt with psychologists and psychiatrists my whole life, and I've had rich conversations, and they've given me a lot of useful information, and I've become fully self-actualized, which I did that probably 15 years ago or 20 years ago. I'm fully self-actualized, but I also went through a period of cognitive dissonance, which is a painful thing. I did that for 3 years, and I can talk about that. That's a very painful thing to go through. If you've never heard it, research it on the internet. But that's until next time. Episode 4 is coming up next Sunday at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. John Cannon signing out, and Nikki, say goodbye to everyone.
Goodbye, everyone. I love you. Mwah.
We'll see you next time. I'm going to play out some music so I can have it fade out that way. Bye, everyone.
Bye. Mwah.